Wow, should have done that. I'm sitting in Pueblo's yesterday. No, let's see, what were you doing? Monday. Sitting with the Transus on Monday at Pueblo's. And we're just generally talking and catching up. We used to eat a lot on Sunday evenings and then meet up on Monday and everybody's off. And we're sitting across the table, and Rusty, my good friend's wife, is there, and she's telling us about her work. And one of the things she does at work is she is in charge of a group of kids. What are they called? Student council, right? So she's in charge of the student council. And if we had a student council when I was in high school, like 13 years ago, I had no idea. But apparently there's the student council. It's a group of people that organize in high school for like dances. It's hilarious, right? I was totally oblivious to this. Prom, they're the people that put that together. And she's in charge of it for Sci. And she tells us that this group of people, they organize all this stuff and they go to these leadership conferences. And they learn about being leaders and they network with individuals and they meet other leaders, exchange numbers, and talk about how they're doing the prom and all that. I looked across the table and I'm like, man, these guys really sound like losers. Or at least somebody would have made fun of. And then I sit and I start to think, and I'm like, wait a second. Make fun of it. I went to a leadership conference with Dennis last week. And we networked with leaders and we talked about what we were doing in community. And I said that aloud, and I looked at my buddy and he's like, yeah, you're a huge dork now. And I'm like, how did I become the dork? I'm the guy that goes parasailing and I jump off anything you can find and I'm into caving and I'll rappel and you name an extreme thing and I will try it. And all of a sudden I ended up being the dork. And I couldn't figure out the transition, so I went home. It really bothered me internally. You didn't know this, but I was like, how did I end up the dork? And I thought back and I cataloged through my brain, and I remembered what might have started me on the dork path. So I'm going to share that with you today. You're holding it in your hand. This document is an Excel spreadsheet that came to me via Bryson Payne, who was my wife's professor at the time. And he gives this to all his classes to show you how to grow wealth. Now, I know this is way over what you want to learn in middle school or high school because it's extremely dorky, but bear with me and we'll get to better content later. Does everybody see the first line? What does it say? Okay, up above that. Amount per month. Everybody see that? $60. $60, right? So roughly $2 a day. Everybody with me? Annual yield. So that's like percentage you would make on your money. This is dollars. And the second thing is age. I just randomly picked 14. I figured, if we added everything up, maybe everybody in the room can at least remember when they're 14 or close to 14, right? Okay, so here's what the document says. It made me a huge dork. If you invest $60 a month, everybody with me? Starting at age 14, when you're 15, the account will be worth $760. And you will have put in actual cash, $2 a day. So you'll have put in $720, right? Everybody with me? And everybody think that maybe they can squeeze out $2 a day in their life if it's really important? No, not a chance. As you get a little older, $2 a day won't seem like a significant amount of money. So here we go. Second year, you're 16. You've invested, your account is worth $1,618. You would have invested money you actually put into the account, $1,400. Okay, so everybody knows how. Scroll with me down to the very bottom. How old are you now?
58.
58. At 58, what is your account worth? A whole bunch of money, right? How many people know, or their parents, or they know someone that's 58?
You're 58.
I'm not hard yet. Anybody know somebody that's 58? Seriously, are you dead? Seriously.
At least
58 or older. Or older. There we go.
Oh, I know you.
He has a communication problem. Okay, there we go.
You're older.
So what this document is saying, you literally, if you would invest $60 a month at 12% interest, starting when you're 14, you would have $1 million, $1.1 billion. Does anybody know anybody with 1 million cash in the bank, totally tax-free?
He does.
Two people.
Back there.
So let's contrast that. Of everybody in this room, we all know someone over 58, and we do not know anybody, for the most part, that has $1.1 million tax-free, right? If you do this in a Roth IRA, you can do this with $2 a day. When I learned this, it blew my mind. I was like, you're telling me for the price of 2 double cheeseburgers at McDonald's, if I give that up every day, I can have $1.1 million, right? Blew my mind, and this was the start of me becoming a little less than, super dorky. This document right here. So, here's the principle that we learned from this document. Mr. Garner, would you describe me as a huge dork? No. No, okay. Anyway, I was by the people who knew me most. The principle here is that extreme financial growth occurs when you invest a little bit of money every day over a long period of time. Has everybody got it? So let's say it together. I'll say a line, you repeat it. Extreme financial growth occurs.
Extreme financial growth occurs
When you invest a little bit of money.
when you invest a little bit of money
Every day for a long time.
every day for a long time.
Okay, that's not the lesson. It has nothing to do with it. I just want to throw that out there
the moment you get
because
it.
it blew my mind. Okay, what I want to do with you very quickly is I want to share with you my story. I want to share with you what Mr. Garner experienced when I was in high school, and I want to work that up to college, and then I want to tell you a little bit about where I'm at now. This is why I want to do this, because when I was in college, I listened to professors who told me how to run a business, and they never run it, and it drove me crazy. I frequently get calls from fellow business owners and friends of mine. They say, Craig, I got this great idea, right? We're going to take this sales guy in my company, and we're going to put him with a production role, and we're going to do sales and production, and we're going to do real good. We're going to invest $50,000 and make a lot of money at it. And I go, man, where did you get that idea? And they'll be like, see, Bob told me down at the paint store. And I'll be like, really? How much money does Bob make? And they'll be like, well, Bob's business has not been so good lately. Things aren't good. And it's crazy to me, but very often business owners, anyway, will listen to someone who doesn't do as good as they do and come away with great advice. In America, you can have a guy that runs a $750,000 business, and he will take advice and give advice to a guy that runs a $2 million business, and the $2 million business guy will listen, right? And it makes no sense. So I think a valuable lesson today, if you don't get any of the Jesus message, if you totally didn't understand my spreadsheet, it's just that you should listen and follow people that know something about what you want to know, or have been somewhere that you want to be. So here is my story, starting out just before high school. A cousin of mine that I wasn't really close with, I didn't know too well, calls up my parents, not sure why, he didn't call me directly, and he said, hey, I was thinking about taking Craig hiking. Would he want to go? So parents are like, hey Craig, you want to go hiking? And I'm like, hey, it gets me away from my parents, get me out of the house, let's do it. So we go hiking. We hike up, he lives in LJ, considerably older than me. We drive halfway, we meet at a place on the Appalachian Trail and hike for a few miles called Three Forks. Three Forks is a little small waterfall, it's like maybe a 15, 20-foot drop, it's not that big. We camp out there, and he begins to share with me his life, his story, and what he's done. And he shares with me a verse in the Bible that to that day, I'm sure I'd heard it before, but I'd never heard it. You know what I'm talking about? To hear something, even though you've heard it, and not really understand it.
I mean, you mean you like zoned it out?
I zoned it out, Lucas. For the first time, I heard this scripture, and it made sense to me in a way that I had not heard before. And I accepted Christ. I became a Christian at the feet of the waterfall at Three Forks, not 30 miles from here. This was the start of the road for me as a Christian. I go on, I enter into high school. High school was an extreme change for me. We start out football season. I'd never played football in my life. This like real nerdy guy showed me how to put in pads. I'm like embarrassed. I don't know what the helmet does, anything.